From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to OpenLine tonight. I'm Ben Hall. Very good opportunity tonight. Free financial advice. Where else can you get that? You're not going to get that anywhere else. Free financial advice. An opportunity tonight to call in with your questions of a financial nature. How invested should you be in the stock market? What sorts of things should you be doing to prepare for retirement? And we are very happy to have with us John Navin of John Navin and Associates. John,
Correct.
Thank you for being here. I always like to start with, what are you seeing in your office right now? People coming into your office, what are some of the big questions that they are posing? What are you seeing right now?
Well, if we looked, very, very good question. If I looked big picture, we specialize in retirement planning. So it is more in line with folks typically 55 and above is our demographic and who we work the best with, or I should say the most often with. And what we're seeing most is probably questions about the stock market. You mentioned that right at the opening, which is nice to hear. Should I have my money in the market? What percent? How much should be there? That's a big question. Another one is Social Security. There's a rule changing in Social Security May 1st of this year, so that's triggering a lot of folks on should I take Social Security, when should I take it, how do I take it. We get some of those. And then the third thing is just overall retirement income planning. How do I guarantee my income? So the biggest concern folks have, and especially in that demographic, that baby boom demographic, how am I going to make sure I don't outlive my income?
So the people coming into your office generally, are they 55 and over? Are they younger?
They're probably at least 50, 53 and up is where they are.
And what is the biggest mistake you see people make? These people that have come into your office, so they're making they're doing something smart there. I mean, they're trying to take control of their situation. But let's go back before. So now they're 55, 53, they're thinking about this. What's a mistake they made earlier in life that if you could tell them, hey, you know, if they could go back, what sorts of things should they have done differently, perhaps?
So I'm going to talk to the younger people now for a second.
Yeah, what about that?
All right.
What would be a good thing for them to
Younger
have
people
done?
starting out, the biggest thing that I would say is start now. And I often say the best time to plant a tree was 40 years ago. The second best time is today. So start whatever you have today, because it will add up. So start with whatever amount. So if it's 10 bucks, 20 bucks, 50 bucks, 100 bucks. I hear stories every day about, well, I have one just came to my, last week I had some clients in, and they were talking about allocating funds and how much they put in this area and this area, and you know they're in their 60s now, so early 60s, getting ready to retire, and they said, oh my gosh, we're talking about allocating you know, $20, $30, $40,000, and they're like, thinking back when they started out 40 years ago or 30 years ago, they told me a story about how when they got married, they couldn't even stay the full 3 nights that they wanted to stay at the place because somebody had overeaten the night before and spent too much money, and so they had to come back. And so
They were on that tight of a budget.
They were on that tight of a budget. So now, I mean, think about that 30. You're talking about $10, 20 bucks, but they put it away and they saved diligently and just let it grow. So.
Was that generation more inclined to save, do you think, than the generation today?
I think it's no. I think it's the information they had at the time. I think now that generation, looking back, probably did. Maybe that's not true. Maybe they were more inclined because I think they were taught differently, and they didn't have as much of the "I want it now" mentality.
And they were coming out of the Depression.
Yeah.
Now we've had the Great Recession. They had the Great Depression.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that generation was more inclined to save. And so today, are people? You hear start early, but you know, $10. There's this thought. You know, it's not a good time now. I'll do it next year. And it's not a good time now. I'll do it next year. How do you get past that?
Start. Start. Quit saying that. All right. Time value of money. Are you familiar with that?
A little.
All right, then let's set a couple of rules real quick, as long as we're laying this foundation. There's something called the Rule of 72. Rule of 72 and time value of money. Well, I'm going to tie these two together. The Rule of 72 states that if you take the interest rate divided by 72, that's how often your money will double. So if you're getting 7% interest, 72 is 10 years, right? So You
Okay.
with me?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So if we can average 7%, my money will double every 10 years.
7% interest, okay, which has been a long time since we've gotten.
All right. Or we can use 6, we can use 5, we can use
Right.
7. I can do the math on, right? So
Okay, that's good.
it's easy. We want to keep it
Right.
easy here. So 7%, it'll double every 10 years. The time value of money is, in essence, your money. If you spend money on something, you've lost the opportunity for that money. So, time value of money states. Kids today, if I were talking to the kids still, they want a big screen TV. Big screen TV is $2,000. So if I'm going to spend $2,000 on this big screen TV, I have to take the money out of this pocket and give it to somebody else. So assuming they didn't charge it. Now, if they charge it, that's even
It's worse.
worse.
Right.
But they spent $2,000. Let's say they're 30 years old and they're going to retire at 65. So they have 35 years, right? So that $2,000, using our rule of 72, if we were getting 7%, was going to double every 10 years. So 3.5 times, right? Mm-hmm. So that $2,000 is going to go from $2,000 to $4,000, $4,000 to $8,000, $8,000 to $16,000, and let's just keep it easy, $16,000 to $32,000.
Wow.
So your $2,000 TV cost you $32,000 in retirement. That's the time.
And it's
value of
worse for cars and stuff like that.
Well, it depreciates.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. See, that's actually encouraging.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
If you think that by setting aside that, it'll double and then continue to double, and that's
It's
a
just
good thing.
time. Another one that I often talk about is something called the latte factor. Have you heard that story?
No.
Okay. Latte factor is people think I don't have much money. I can't afford to save any money. I don't have any extra dollars in my paycheck. Yet they buy a latte every day.
Right.
So if you have what is a latte? $4. I drink black coffee. So if it's $4 a day for a latte times 7 days, that's 28. Let's call it 30 because we can do the math. 30 times 4 is $120 a month. There's $120 a month.
Wow.
$1,200 a year if you don't buy a latte or make your latte at home versus buying it at a famous coffee place.
So, all right, see, and that is encouraging. So, all right, so let's go back to the 55-year-olds or so who come into your office. What is kind of an important first step for them? Is the question how much do I allocate to the stock market and how much do I allocate over here? What are some of the things they're questioning as they come in?
The first step, I talk about building a house, and I'll ask them, I say, have you ever built a house? And they're like, yeah, or they say no. Well, if you built a house, what's the first thing you needed? Well, we need land, or we need a place to build. I said, well, after you found the land, what did you need next? They said, a plan. Yes, you need a blueprint. So the first thing that we do, or I would strongly suggest any of our viewers should do, is have a plan. So start to look at what are the key components of my portfolio based upon what it is I'm trying to achieve. So create a plan, and you can build your financial house basically from that plan.
What are the things that are in a plan? Generally speaking, not specifics, but generally speaking, what's in a plan?
All right, if we were going to create a plan, it would have, well, you'd want to look, and I'll tie this back to the house again, but you want to look and have, first and foremost, an income plan. Because that's primarily the thing they're most concerned about is
how much money's going out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do I make sure when I retire, I still have X number of dollars coming in? So where's my income going to come from? And so that becomes one of the first things. The second thing, though, is the plan is built around what's most important to them. What are you trying to achieve? What do you want? Well, then you can structure the plan built around what they want. Then it becomes allocation. What tools do we use to fill your house or your plan? And then implementing it.
And this is a question, I'm sure you'll say it varies. But if someone were to ask how much, again, we're talking about a 55-year-old, what do I need to comfortably retire? And I'm sure it depends on the lifestyle they want to lead. But what's kind of a baseline? What are the averages? What would you say to that question?
I would say, do you want to live the same way you live today?
And what answer do you get most of the time?
Yes. So that leaves you 100%.
Right.
So typically you want to replace the income that you're making now. Some experts say it's 80%. Some say it could be a little bit less, but I try and shoot for 100%.
So that means you've got to make your money work for you.
Yes.
And how do you do that?
Well, then now we get into allocation, but let me back up to the percent still a little
Okay,
bit.
go ahead.
So
Yeah,
what's because if we use 100%, I was going to add the 100% should be your net number. Because here's the other thing that I see. People think, oh my gosh, I need, X number of dollars to retire. I need this big fortune to retire. And I'll tell folks, I see people that can retire on 200,000, and I see some that can't on 3 million. So it just depends on what your lifestyle is and what you want. So, but build it around what your net paycheck number is, not what your gross check says. For example, somebody may come in and say, okay, I make $100,000 a year. I want to replace $100,000 a year. And I will say, okay, let's back up. What do you take home? Because if I were to do the math on $100,000 a year, it's $8,500 a month. You don't live on $8,500 a month because you're doing your 401k, you've got health insurance, you've got the taxes that are coming out. Some people have something called, like cafeteria plans, or they do flex spending accounts that come out of there. All that stuff, for the most part, is going to stop when you retire.
Right.
So let's go look at, I say, what do you take home? Well, I take home, $2,800 every 2 weeks. Okay, so now your number really is closer to $5,000 a month. So then we build the plan around the $5,000 a month, which may probably sound like a 80% of gross, but look at the net numbers, what I would say.
All right, so we have to take a break.
All right.
If you want to call in, this is a great chance to call in with a question. 615-737-plus, 615-737-7587. Take a break, and then I want to ask, how do you get your money to work for you? How do you make that $5,000 a month? All right, we'll take a break. Be back right after this.